Hi everybody, I'm Mike Garsko with SuccessToolChest.com and FindTheMentor.com. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to February 7th, Help Me Communicate. And this week, I'm going to talk about being a great leader and finding out if you're perceived as a bully or harassing or belittling type manager. And if you are, it's time to beware. With all the media attention around the Hollywood up-and-comers being subjected to harassment, whether it's sexual or otherwise, with all the attention about political staffers being harassed, the general public is more aware of their rights of having the right to work in a respectful work environment than ever before. And we're going to start seeing more complaints and more labor board complaints and management complaints than ever before on bullying type behavior and leadership styles at work. So today I'm here to give you some tips for what to watch out for. Most people, I think, aren't even aware that they're being a bully or harassing their people, especially the baby boomer types. Millennials are a little bit different. Millennials are expecting and demanding respect in the workplace more than ever before. And if you don't want to see your door revolving with employees, then it's time to possibly change how you're leading. This week I'm going to share the basics to being a good communicator so that you're not perceived or to avoid being perceived as a harasser or a bullier. You can become an employer of choice. And with a 5% to 7% unemployment rate in North America right now, becoming an employer of choice is the only way to attract and retain good people. Do you want to be a great leader? Do you want to be known as fair, honest, and respectful? Do you want to be treated honestly, fairly, and respectfully? Of course you do. Do you want to make it easy for yourself to attract good workers? Are you using power over techniques to motivate staff? Are you using those old techniques, fear-generating techniques? Do you know how you're being perceived? Is your work group hitting on all the cylinders and getting the results that you want? Are you leading in your industry or amongst your co-managers? I want you to ask these following questions to yourself to determine if your people are happy and if they're motivated and if they're inspired to come to work. Are your people using all their sick days? It's a warning sign. If many of your people are using all their sick days, that means there's problems in the work environment. They're looking for ways to avoid coming to work. Are people coming to work with low energy? If you're seeing that in a big chunk of your team, then that's a warning signal. Is your turnover high? Keep in mind, there's a 10-80-10 rule at work. 10-80-10 simply means this. 10% of your workforce are leaders. They're doers. They like to work independently. They're creative. They think big picture. They think on their own. They find solutions within themselves. We all have about 10% of our work group that is like that. They become our leaders. Having said that, just because they're good performers and they think big picture, that doesn't mean they're the best leader. But they set the example, and that's who we typically promote, so that's okay. But that works for 10% of your workforce. The bottom 10% of your workforce is like a revolving door. And we're always going to have that. There's people that are what Eckhart Tolle calls pain bodies. And there's no kind of work environment that's going to satisfy them. Their expectations are unrealistic. They have little tolerance for difficult situations. And so those 10% are on a revolving door, and we see that in our workforces. But the 80%, that's where your key to having a great department is in how you and your co-leaders or your assistant managers or your lead hands work with that 80% of your work group. And that 80% is all on a continuum. But in general, that 80% of your workforce, they want clear direction. They want clear instruction. They need to be told, and they want to be told what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And they need to be treated with respect. And you can do that. And your team can do that. If turnover is really high in that 80% group, then you've got a problem. And the chances of your leadership style being bullying or harassing is quite high. Are your people looking for work elsewhere? Are people talking behind your back? Is there infighting amongst your work group? If you're noticing these things, then there's a problem with how you're leading. Do you think that no one on your team is as good as you or know how to do it as well as you do? If you have that thought pattern, then chances are you're coming across with some bullying and harassing behavior or belittling behavior. Often when we think we're the best and nobody else can do it as good as us, we belittle other people. So these are all warning signs for you. And if you see that you're noticing these things, that people are missing work, that people are low energy, that people are afraid to share their minds or share new ideas, then chances are there's some bullying or harassing or belittling behavior in your leadership style, and it needs to stop because people will not put up with it much longer. You're going to find yourself in the hot seat. People are going to start complaining to their managers. People are going to start complaining to the labor boards. And so it's important to be proactive and to avoid that. Are people on your team going the extra mile for you? If they aren't, there's an issue with your leadership. The media is full of stories of bullying and harassment right now. And it's important to know that people's tolerance is becoming lower. Their demands for a respectful workplace is higher. Like I said, millennials expect respect, and they demand a safe and fair workplace. It's a big challenge for big business, small business, institutions. It's a challenge for everybody. And what I know, just from talking to the general public and people that work in all different aspects of life, is there's lots of bullying and lots of harassment in institutions, and people aren't aware of it. People think that fear-driving motivation works, and it doesn't work anymore. Unemployment rates are very low in general, and I'm from Alberta, so for the last few years, up until the last couple, we've had an unemployment rate of about 5%. And it is super hard for good companies to attract good people. At a 5% unemployment rate, and that's what the rate in Canada is, and the rate in the US is very low as well. At a 5% unemployment rate, basically, in my opinion, that's a zero unemployment rate. Because in any given population, anywhere in the world that I've traveled, and I've traveled to about 25 different countries, 5% of your workforce is either unemployable, and they can't or they won't work. And the reality is that 5% in that of unemployed people, most good companies wouldn't hire them. They can't keep a job. So at a 5% unemployment rate, we're basically at a 0% unemployment rate. Right now, Alberta's unemployment rate is sitting at 7%. And we find it's hard to find good people. Even at a 7% unemployment rate, the good people are all working. And the ones that aren't, they've left because they've left a bad work environment. The majority, 90% of them left a bad work environment. So it's up to you to create that good work environment. If you want to be an employer of choice and you want your team to hit on all cylinders and you want to lead your industry or amongst your group of managers, then you need to provide a great work environment. Your options are slim in a 5% to 7% unemployment rate. So you need to create that great work environment. Do you want to be a great leader? Do you want to be known as fair, honest, and respectful? Do you want to be treated fairly, honestly, and respectfully yourself? Do unto others as you want them to do, how you want to be treated. Do you want to make it easy to attract good workers to your team? I'm going to give you 5 things right now that you can start doing right now. It may take time to create that great work environment to attract those great people. But you can do it. You have to be committed and you have to be disciplined. And we all have discipline to us within us. And sometimes we have to dig down deep and pull out that discipline. And we have to man up and woman up. We have to grow some balls and grow some ovaries and take that constructive criticism and become a better person and a better leader. So the first step, I'm going to give you 5 steps. The first step is to ask your people to rate your leadership. The second step is to provide tons of positive affirmation. I'll go into more detail here shortly. The third step is to do fun events a couple times a year. The fourth step is to take time to show people how you want to do things. Don't just tell them. And the fifth step is to keep a coaching file for each employee and a personal coaching and a personal development file for each employee. So let's go back to number 1. Ask your people to rate your leadership. Even if you have to do a little internal survey within your group, do it. Ask them. Rate your communications. Rate your the way you give constructive criticism. Rate the way you're organized and help them organize themselves. Ask them to rate your ability to give them the tools that they need to succeed. Get some ratings. Get some feedback. Have one-on-one conversations or use a forum, but get some feedback. People like to feel heard. When you ask them to give you feedback, they feel like they matter, like they're being heard. It's a basic human need to feel heard and understood. Tap into that basic need. Ask them what they think, and then man up or woman up and take the criticism constructively and do what you need to do to improve. So number 1, ask your people to rate your leadership. It's a hard thing to do, but you got to do it. Number 2, provide tons of positive affirmation. Thank your people. Do you say thank you at least 10 times a day to your work group? If you don't, it's time to start. People like to feel appreciated. Do you like to feel appreciated for doing a good job? Do you like to feel like you're contributing in a positive manner to your work group? So do all of your people. They want to feel like they're contributing. They want to feel appreciated. These are basic human needs that as a leader we need to tap into. Show people that you appreciate the work, the good work that they do. Give them lots of pats on the back. Thank them for doing a good job. Basic stuff. And you can change some of those habits by just disciplining yourself to incorporate some of these habits, especially if you're being perceived as harassing. Harassing doesn't work to motivate and inspire people. Asking people what they think, how they feel, works to motivate them and inspire them. Tell people that you appreciate them and that you appreciate their contribution. Number 3 is to do some fun events a couple times a year. People like to laugh. People like to have fun. If you don't have a budget for it, organize potlucks a couple times a year with your work group. And take a couple hours for a lunch to have some fun, maybe play some games. But do a couple of fun events a year. Get your people laughing together. Get them breaking bread together. If you do have a budget, maybe send them out to an escape room adventure or a citywide scavenger hunt. Break them into little teams and send them out and bring them back and have some awards if you have a budget. If you don't have a budget, just do potlucks or something. But create some fun in that work team. Really, really important. Number 4 is to take time to show people how you want things done. Don't just tell them. Most people in that 80%, that top percent you don't have to worry about. That bottom percent, you just have to be aware of them so that you can get rid of them quickly because they're like viruses in the company, that bottom 10. But that other 80%, like I said, they want and need direction. And many people learn better by showing them rather than just telling them. Find out how your people learn. Ask them questions. How do you learn? How do you want me? What can I do to give you the tools that you need to succeed? Talk to your people. Ask them for feedback. Ask them what they need from you as a leader. And show them what they need, how to do things. Show them how to do it, when to do it, and how to deal with the challenges as they come up. And then watch them do it on their own after you've shown them. And remember, as a leader, sometimes you have to show them a few times. Sometimes you have to tell them a few times. Often leaders complain, I feel like I'm being a babysitter. Well, that's reality. You are a babysitter if you're a leader. That 80% likes to be babysat. And if you have that 80%, the 20% is going to look after itself. If you can get that 80% performing at high levels, your team is going to outperform your competition and your co-managers' teams. So show them, don't just tell them. Ask them how they learn, how they are, what motivates them. Ask them that. And I'll tell you, when you ask them what motivates them, they'll tell you, I like to feel appreciated. I like to feel like I'm contributing. I like to be recognized for a good job. So take time to show people. And number 5 is keep a coaching file for each employee. And this is critical. For one thing, when dealing with that bottom 10%, if you keep a coaching and personal development file for every employee on your team, and record all the different things that happen, both the good things that they're doing and the negative things or the mistakes that they're making in their file. When it comes time to firing them, it's easier if you have everything documented. That's for the bottom 10%. But here we're talking about motivating that middle 80%. And when people see that you're writing things down, it makes them more accountable. So do at least an annual personal development meeting and pull out your coaching file. Use your coaching file for the of the notes that you've made throughout the year. Follow your review form that your company gives you and go back and forth. And that will coach your people to do better work. When somebody's made a mistake or the behavior is bad, use your shit sandwich and record all of this in your coaching file. But use the shit sandwich to give constructive criticism. What's the shit sandwich? It's simple. You tell people something good about them, about their personality or about the work that they do. Then you give them the constructive criticism. Here's where the mistakes are, whether it's behavior or a mistake. And then you tell them more good stuff. So it's good stuff, criticism, and more good stuff. And then you have to go the extra mile. The number one rule to success in anything is to go the extra mile. And when it comes to being a good leader, the way to go the extra mile, especially after you've given somebody a shit sandwich and some constructive criticism, is to find at least 4 or 5 more opportunities in the next short while to give them more positive affirmation of things that they're doing well. When people feel like they're doing well, they're more motivated to fix their mistakes or their bad behavior. And often managers are too busy. They're not out in whether it's the bullpen or the construction site or the office environment. They're sitting in their office or doing their paperwork. They don't have time. Use your assistant managers or your lead hands to help you provide that positive affirmation and that 5 or 7 to 1 rule. We know that when we've given somebody constructive criticism, that we have to give them positive affirmation at least 5 to 7 times for every time we've given them constructive criticism. That's difficult to do one person alone unless and some people can do it. But often we have to use our leadership team to provide that positive affirmation. Do that. Record everything in this coaching file that I'm telling you to keep for each employee, this personal development file. Get the employee to buy in to what they need to improve and record it in their personal development coaching file. What things are you going to work on this year to be better at? When you give people the attention that they deserve in the form of communicating effectively, giving them positive feedback with that negative feedback, you will find that they will be more accountable and take themselves to the next level. So that's your 5 tips. Ask your people to rate your leadership. Provide tons of positive affirmation. Do fun events 3 times a year. That's number 3. Number 4 is take time to show people how you want things done. Don't just tell them. And number 5 is keep your coaching file and record everything about that employee throughout the year. It might take you an extra 5 minutes to make these notes as things come up throughout the year, but those notes will be valuable. So do those 5 things, and you will find that you'll be made aware of any harassing or bullying or belittling behavior that you're using to motivate, knowing that that behavior, that type of leadership is not going to work with the new generations. It will work the odd time. I have run into people that can lead that way and they find people to fit in their teams. But that window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So be proactive. Don't lead by bullying and harassing and by using fear to motivate your people. Using fear of losing your job to motivate people actually demotivates them. And you will find that your team is less productive if you're using fear motivating techniques. So I hope you got something from today's video. Remember, we can always be better communicators. All of these weekly videos are posted at Success Tool Chest blog. Go to successtoolchest.com, click on the blog in the top bar, and you can look at, we've done 21 of these now, all on different topics and different things. Some of them cross over a little, but lots of good information on how to communicate in difficult situations. Most of them are relating to work. Some of them are relating to personal life. Most of the ones that we relate to work can cross over into personal life. So go to our blogs. Commit to becoming a better communicator. We can all be better communicators. Even after 25 years of practicing at being a good communicator and having very good natural skills to begin with, there's times I make mistakes and have to correct myself. And I am aware of those mistakes because I know the communications techniques that are necessary to be a good leader and inspire and motivate people. At SuccessToolChest.com, you can sign up. It's only $200. The Contact Communications and Masterminding program will give you all those tools that you need to refine. Now, most of you, if you're in a leadership position, you're a decent communicator. Even if you're a little bit bullying or harassing, you're still a decent communicator. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got to that position. It's good to refresh our minds about what good communication styles are. It's good to reflect on what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. For only $200, you can take the Contact Communications program. It'll remind you how people communicate. It'll remind you what good listening skills are, reflective listening, active listening, how to ask questions, what questions to ask, what words to choose, what words not to use. All that's in the Contact Communications program to help you become a great communicator. That's my purpose here, is to help you become a great communicator. Take the program. It's only $200, the price of a nice dinner out, and it will make you a better leader. Don't forget to like our page here. I hope that you enjoyed today's talk. Tell your friends about Help Me Communicate. Tell them about Success Tool Chest and all our communications programs. You go out and make it an awesome day. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.